But there have been some right-wing commentators who have seen their own comments filled with people who are writing to them and saying that, you know what, you're elite too. You don't get it. It's kind of two very distinct sides of American politics, but not, they sound almost the same.
Okay, that was Kasie Hunt over at CNN saying that the backlash against the healthcare industry following the assassination of UnitedHealth CEO Brian Thompson is decidedly less partisan than maybe some would have expected. Not here at TYT, though. We've been saying for years that a lot of the issues facing Americans are less left versus right than they are, top versus bottom. But here are the clips that Hunt was referring to as sounding almost the same. Take a look.
And what happens when you turn this into the billionaires run it all is they get the opportunity to squeeze every last penny.
Yeah.
And look, we'll say it over and over. Violence is never the answer. This guy gets a trial who's allegedly killed the CEO of UnitedHealth. But you can only push people so far.
I don't think anybody's going to be crying too hard over that guy.
Yeah, maybe his family, but that's about it.
Yeah.
It's a dirty, dirty business. The business of insurance is gross. It's gross, and especially healthcare insurance, just gross.
Hunt then reminded her audience that many Bernie supporters ended up voting for Trump once Bernie was out of the presidential race. And a Republican strategist on her panel referred to populism as the animating spirit across both sides of the American political spectrum. So it's no surprise that Elizabeth Warren has emerged as the voice of, in the center of this national discussion. But speaking of Elizabeth Warren, always a champion for the people, she introduced a Senate bill to hold capitalism accountable. And if you're wondering how she slapped this thing together so quickly, she didn't. She had this in her back pocket ready to go. She released it back when she was running for president, but y'all decided you wanted concepts of plans instead of Liz. But on her website, she writes that during the 1980s, the Reagan years, corporate executives shifted their priorities away from the workers and away from investing back into their own businesses and decided to instead maximize shareholder value. She says this shift is a root cause of many of America's economic problems. In the early 1980s, America's biggest companies dedicated less than half of their profits to shareholders. More recently, they have sent 93% of their earnings to shareholders. That means trillions of dollars that might have otherwise gone to workers or long-term investments have gone to shareholders instead. So as a result, workers' wages have stagnated despite workers being more productive than ever. And since companies aren't investing in themselves as they should, foreign competitors have been allowed to get strong footholds in our market, which is not very America first. Warren's plan seeks to make corporations more democratically run. And she also wants to see less incentive for them to inflate stock values by regulating their ability to sell their stocks. And she also wants the shareholders and directors to vote with a 75% majority before a company engages in any kind of political spending. The bill is unlikely to go anywhere, especially with the incoming Republican Congress. But Cenk, what are your thoughts on all this?
Yeah, so I love how freaked out the CNN host was. And the entire panel was. I watched the whole segment. They're like, what is this populism? Why are they uniting? Yeah, we're uniting against you, and hence the freak out, right? And she was so surprised by it. But that's what I'm talking about when I talk about the bubbles, right? And in the mainstream media bubble, they just heard about populism after this election. They're like, oh, populism. They've never had a populist guest on. They don't know what it is. And the idea that, oh yeah, we might agree that both the right-wing and left-wing populists hate corruption, hate war, etc. Again, these are all brand new things to reporters at CNN. And Warren's bill, I love it. There's one provision I don't love, but the rest of it is great. It's not against capitalism. It's democracy checking capitalism. Exactly as I wrote about in my book, Justice is Coming. I call it democratic capitalism because you need that check to make sure the American people are protected. And finally, she had it in her back pocket since she ran for president. I like that she's putting it out now, except for the fact that, wait, why didn't you put it out during Biden when the Democrats were in charge? So that's why we say, listen, forget the partisan labels. You got to do the right thing no matter what. Brian.
Yeah, what you just said. I just want to say, I haven't talked to you since the election, Cenk, and
I thought of you during the election and on election night. I don't know why, but I just thought of you and how right you've been from the very beginning, from the very first Young Turks show that I did on Wilshire Boulevard a million years ago. You have been right, and the whole team there has been right. And I thank you guys for everything that you've done for your voice. You've been on it since day one about the populism, the kind of populism that people really, that's valuable. And you were on the Sanders thing before anybody. I just, I thought of all of you and of the work you do. And I can't thank you enough for being that lone voice out there in the media that talks about these issues, because you've been on it from the very beginning. And what we are seeing now manifest before us is a consequence of people not watching your show and subscribing. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Brian. That's incredibly nice of you to say. I really appreciate it.
I mean it.
Most importantly, guys, we've got to win the 2028 primary, and the populist left has to take over the Democratic Party. Otherwise, these guys are going to lead us to ruin. So let's go. Let's go. Everybody get animated. Let's find a great candidate together, and let's make sure we defeat the establishment and do populist left, because that is what actually tries to protect the average American and not the elites. All right, guys. Bonus episode is next for the members, and there we've got a couple of fun stories for you guys. War on Christmas is back. Oh, thank God. Sean Hannity attacks Tim Walz's Christmas tree, and Mark Cuban spills the tea to what happened behind the scenes at the Kamala Harris campaign to Jon Stewart. Both super interesting stories. Hit the join button below if you're on YouTube, or tyt.com if you're anywhere else. We'll see you there. Thanks for watching The Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.